Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Tuesday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college football. Before I start the show, I hope you all had a great weekend. To start off with Major League Baseball, Rockies general manager Jeff Bridich gave a short answer when asked about Nolan Arenado's status when he had a press conference the day pitchers and catchers reported for spring training. Jeff Bridich stated, "Nothing. There's no comment." I haven't had any comment to this point, so we'll move past that. Next question. Nolan Arenado reported to spring training for the Rockies on his reporting date. Nolan Arenado stated, "The goal is to win. They signed me to win. I want to be on a winning team. If that's in Colorado or somewhere else, it's still a business. You never know what can happen. I have to be optimistic. I am not just going to sit here and moan about this. I am optimistic. You have to be. It's spring training. You never know what can happen. I am here, ready to go. I am going to compete. I know a lot of things have been swirling around, but nothing has changed with me. I am going to do the best I can and play hard. I am going to try and help this team win, and I will do the best I can." So those are both the statements that Rockies general manager Jeff Bridich gave and Nolan Arenado when they arrived for spring training the day they reported down to Arizona. So if we take a look at this situation within the Rockies organization between general manager Jeff Bridich and Nolan Arenado, who knows what happened during the offseason? We'll never know because Nolan Arenado is very private with his life off the field and away from baseball, and you really don't know what's going on in Nolan Arenado's life unless he happens to announce something. Nolan Arenado has a private life and he does not have social media accounts, so who knows what Nolan Arenado does during the offseason. But during this past offseason, there were a lot of reports that Nolan Arenado was going to be traded from the Rockies, and the Rockies were talking to teams about a potential Nolan Arenado trade, which never happened up until this point. It could still happen. Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. But during the offseason, there was a chance that Nolan Arenado was going to be traded from the Rockies. The Rockies did talk to a few teams about a potential trade, but nothing ever went through. And as of right now that pitchers, catchers, and position players have reported for spring training, and now the whole roster is in Arizona or Florida for spring training for all 30 baseball teams, we're going to have to wait and see. The Cubs were talking to the Rockies about a potential Nolan Arenado trade and swapping third basemen. The Rockies would have got Kris Bryant and the Cubs would have got Nolan Arenado. The Cubs still want to trade Kris Bryant, so we're going to have to wait and see if the Rockies were to trade Nolan Arenado. But now that it's spring training, I don't think the Rockies are going to trade Nolan Arenado. And if they were, it would likely happen at the trade deadline or when Nolan Arenado is eligible to opt out of his 8-year contract at the end of the 2021 season. But as of right now that spring training is underway and the regular season will start in the next few weeks, Nolan Arenado will be the third baseman for the Rockies. Now we're going to have to wait and see if Nolan Arenado will remain the Rockies' third baseman for his entire career or until the end of this 8-year contract. That's still unknown, but as of right now, Nolan Arenado is the third baseman for the Rockies, and there's no doubt that Nolan Arenado is one of the best third basemen to ever play for the Rockies and in Major League Baseball right now. So the Rockies, they would have not wanted to trade Nolan Arenado. That is trading one of the best players you've ever had play for your team. And that's also one of the best third basemen and players to play in Major League Baseball. It would have been weird to see the Rockies trade their best player on the team and their franchise player, someone that the Rockies want to build around this season and going into the future. Now, it's unknown how the Rockies are going to play in 2020 after the way they played in the 2019 season. So we're going to have to wait and see how the Rockies play in 2020 and going into the next few years. But Nolan Arenado made it clear that he wants to play on a winning team, whether it's the Rockies or it's a different team. The Rockies know that Nolan Arenado is a special player. He's a once-in-a-generation player. So that's why the Rockies didn't trade Nolan Arenado. There's not a lot of Nolan Arenados that just pop up, and they just don't pop out of nowhere. So the Rockies did not want to get rid of Nolan Arenado since he is their franchise player. But the Rockies are hoping that they can build around Nolan Arenado, turn their season around in 2020, have a winning season, and make it back into the postseason after not making it into the postseason in 2019 when the Rockies went to the postseason back-to-back seasons in 2017 and in 2018. But in 2020 and going into the future, the Rockies want to have winning seasons and get back into the postseason. Now we're going to have to wait and see. But Nolan Arenado said that he does want to meet with General Manager Jeff Bridich at some point to discuss his future with the Rockies and the future of the Rockies and what they need to do in order to have a winning team going into the future. And it's unknown to what extent the tension that was between Jeff Bridich and Nolan Arenado. We'll really never know because Jeff Bridich has not really stated or said anything, and Nolan Arenado is keeping it private since he has a private life and he does not want to state or say anything either. But with everything that the Rockies have been through under General Manager Jeff Bridich, with all the good moves and all the bad moves that Jeff Bridich had made, if he would have traded Nolan Arenado because he wanted to get rid of his big contract or because of the tension they possibly had between each other, that would have been one of the worst moves Jeff Bridich would have ever done. He's done bad things as being the Rockies general manager, but if he would have got rid of Nolan Arenado, that would have been the worst move he could have ever done. I know the Rockies will not do this, but if the Rockies want to be successful going into the future, it's going to be without Jeff Bridich being their general manager. So the only way the Rockies are going to be a successful team going into the future is not having Jeff Bridich as their general manager. Now Jeff Bridich is getting another chance at turning this Rockies team around in 2020. And if it doesn't happen, I would expect Nolan Arenado to leave the Rockies when he can opt out of his contract. But also, if the Rockies do not have a great 2020 season, it's about time that the Rockies consider firing Jeff Bridich. The Rockies should have done that a long time ago, and they should have already done that. But I know the Rockies will not do it. But if the Rockies are successful, Jeff Bridich will have a job. But if they're not going to be successful, it's time to move on from Jeff Bridich and get a new general manager that can turn this Rockies team around. Because the Rockies have a talented team. They may not have the pitching, and they didn't improve the pitching like they should have during the offseason, especially the bullpen, but they definitely have the position players and that starting lineup. So the Rockies need to think about winning now. Their time is now to win because they have the players on the team. Now they just need to execute on the field when it's time for the regular season. So we're going to have to wait and see how the Rockies play in 2020 and if they have a winning season. But going into the future, if the Rockies have success, it's going to have to be without Jeff Bridich being their general manager. And there's no doubt that at the end of the 2020 season, Jeff Bridich could be the best general manager or he could be the worst general manager for the Rockies. But if he would have traded Nolan Arenado, that would have been the worst move Jeff Bridich could have ever done with the other moves he's done in the past, which were not great moves by Jeff Bridich and the Rockies. There's no doubt that Nolan Arenado is one of the best players to ever play for the Rockies at third base, but he's also one of the best players to ever play in Major League Baseball. So I will give kudos to Jeff Bridich on not trading Nolan Arenado. And I hope that Jeff Bridich knew that Nolan Arenado is a once-in-a-generation player. So I'm glad that Nolan Arenado is still on the Rockies team. And we're going to have to wait and see how Nolan Arenado and the Rockies play in 2020. Wilmer Flores and the Giants have agreed to a 2-year contract. Carlos Gonzalez and the Mariners have agreed to a minor league contract. According to multiple reports, the Angels' trade for Jock Peterson fell through and it won't happen. The beginning of the 2020 baseball season is just around the corner. Last week, pitchers and catchers reported to spring training. This week, the position players reported to spring training. Towards the end of February, spring training games will begin, and towards the end of March, the 2020 regular season will begin with opening day. Right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. The NFL reinstated Myles Garrett from his indefinite suspension, and he will get a second chance with the Browns and in the NFL. So for Myles Garrett, he got very lucky in this situation. The NFL is giving him another chance because after this incident took place last season, Myles Garrett did apologize for his actions and said that it was out of his character and he didn't mean to do it to that extent and act in the manner that he did. So Myles Garrett will be getting another chance in the NFL, and with the Browns are happy that they're getting Myles Garrett back, and Myles Garrett is happy that he's able to return to the NFL. And for the Browns, and we're going to have to wait and see how Myles Garrett plays in the 2020 season, but he's definitely preparing and getting ready for the 2020 season, and he will be ready to play football after serving his indefinite suspension after that incident with Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph during that Browns-Steelers divisional matchup in Cleveland last season. But if we take a look at Myles Garrett, last season when the Browns went against the Steelers, which is an AFC North divisional matchup between the Browns and the Steelers, since they're in the same division and they go up against each other every year, twice a year, since they're both in the AFC North. The Browns-Steelers divisional matchup is a big rivalry game between these two teams, and it's definitely going to be a bigger rivalry going into the future now that the Browns look like they're going to improve and be a better team, and they're going to be competing with the Steelers the Ravens, and the Bengals for the AFC North going into the future. So now the Browns-Steelers divisional matchup in the AFC North is going to be a big game, since the Browns are on the rise and they have the potential of being a better team going into the future. But last season, when the Browns went against the Steelers in an AFC North divisional matchup when they were in Cleveland, Myles Garrett and backup quarterback Mason Rudolph got into this altercation. Now, Mason Rudolph was the Steelers' quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger was out for the entire season with an injury. But at that time, the Steelers' backup quarterback was Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett got into this altercation towards the end of this Browns-Steelers game, which landed up having Myles Garrett pulling the helmet off of Mason Rudolph and slamming the helmet as hard as he could onto Mason Rudolph's head. By the way that Myles Garrett slammed the helmet onto Mason Rudolph's head, there was the potential that that could have been a career-ending injury for Mason Rudolph. And it could have also been a serious injury for Mason Rudolph. So fortunately, it wasn't a serious injury for Mason Rudolph. But after Myles Garrett did this to Mason Rudolph, the NFL took action in suspending Myles Garrett indefinitely for the rest of that season. And after this game, when reporters interviewed Myles Garrett, he did apologize for his actions during this game and that it was out of his character. But it was too late to apologize, since he was going to be suspended for the rest of the season for his actions during this game. But going back to that incident, and even now that the NFL said they reinstated Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett still claims the reason why he did this to Mason Rudolph was because Mason Rudolph said a racial slur to Myles Garrett, which Mason Rudolph still denies up to this day. But Myles Garrett still says that Mason Rudolph said a racial slur to him, and that's why he did what he did to Mason Rudolph. We'll never know who's telling the truth. But Myles Garrett will get a second chance in the NFL after this incident that he had with Mason Rudolph last season. And hopefully, Myles Garrett will not have another incident like this for the rest of his NFL career. And hopefully, the NFL will never see another incident like this take place. Because it was a serious incident, and there could have been some serious injuries to Mason Rudolph after being slammed in the head by a helmet. But Myles Garrett did apologize for his actions, and we're going to have to wait and see how Myles Garrett acts and performs in the 2020 season after serving the suspension that he did for this incident. DJ Humphries and the Cardinals have agreed to a 3-year contract extension. The Redskins released Josh Norman. In 1988, Doug Williams became the first African-American quarterback in NFL history to start and win a Super Bowl. In 1967, Elam Tunnel became the first African-American elected into the NFL Hall of Fame. Right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna were buried in a private ceremony on February 7 in the Pacific View Memorial Park in Corona del Mar, California, near the family's Southern California home in Orange County, California. The Bryant family announced that the public memorial for Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and the 7 other victims that died in the helicopter crash will be on February 24th at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The day 224 reflects the jersey numbers worn by Kobe and Gianna, and that's why the memorial is going to be on February 24th. So next week, the Lakers organization, the NBA, everyone that knew Kobe Bryant, even people that didn't know Kobe Bryant, but the entire world will have the opportunity to go to Los Angeles and be at the Staples Center to honor Kobe Bryant's life and legacy that he left on this planet. Everybody will also have the opportunity to give their condolences to the Bryant family and the loss of Kobe and Gianna Bryant. It will also be the opportunity for everyone to honor Kobe Bryant's legacy that he left behind with the Lakers and in the NBA. There was a lot of people that knew Kobe Bryant, no matter if it was current or former players, coaches, or personnel with the Lakers or in the NBA. But also, there was a lot of people that personally knew Kobe Bryant, and they weren't even a part of the NBA. So the Bryant family is expecting a huge turnout for this memorial for Kobe and Gianna Bryant at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, since there were a lot of people that personally knew Kobe Bryant, no matter if they were a part of the Lakers organization, the NBA, or it was just other people that personally knew Kobe Bryant. So they are expecting a huge turnout of people to attend this memorial for Kobe Bryant. Also, whether you knew or you didn't know Kobe Bryant, this will also be an opportunity for other people that didn't know Kobe Bryant to honor his life and legacy that he left behind. And this will be the chance for them to go to the Staples Center in Los Angeles to honor Kobe Bryant. After Kobe Bryant's death a few weeks ago, the Lakers, the NBA, and the rest of the world have done tributes and many other different things to honor Kobe Bryant's legacy with the Lakers and in the NBA. But especially the Lakers and the NBA are honoring Kobe Bryant's legacy, and they're doing everything they can to honor Kobe Bryant. There's no doubt that now, next year, in the next few years, or going into the future, everyone's going to remember Kobe Bryant. And nobody's going to forget Kobe Bryant anytime soon. And the NBA is going to make sure that they honor Kobe Bryant in the right way. But they're also going to make sure that the NBA and the rest of the world never forgets Kobe Bryant. So anyone that has the opportunity to honor Kobe Bryant's life and legacy that he left on this planet, I would highly recommend, if you can, to go out to Los Angeles for this memorial for Kobe Bryant at the Staples Center next week. So you can honor Kobe Bryant's life and legacy. You can honor Kobe Bryant's legacy with the Lakers and in the NBA. And you can also give your condolences to the Bryant family. So anyone that has the opportunity to go to Los Angeles for the Kobe Bryant Memorial, I highly recommend that you go to Los Angeles to honor Kobe Bryant. Everyone around the world that knew or didn't know Kobe Bryant is doing many different things to honor Kobe Bryant's life and legacy that he left on this planet, and with the Lakers in the NBA. The NBA Skills Challenge was on Saturday, February 15 up in Chicago. The NBA Skills Challenge participants included Bam Adebayo, Patrick Beverley, Spencer Dinwiddie, Chris Middleton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, and Jason Tatum. Bam Adebayo won the NBA Skills Challenge. The NBA three-point contest was on Saturday, February 15 up in Chicago. The NBA three-point contest participants included Davis Bertans, Devontae Graham, Joe Harris, Buddy Hield, Zach LaVine, Devin Booker, Duncan Robinson, and Trae Young. Buddy Hield won the NBA three-point contest. The NBA dunk contest was on Saturday, February 15 up in Chicago. The NBA dunk contest participants included Dwight Howard, Derrick Jones Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Pat Connaughton. Derrick Jones Jr. won the NBA dunk contest. Team LeBron beat Team Giannis 157-155 in the NBA All-Star Game on Sunday, February 16 up in Chicago. For the All-Star Game, LeBron and Giannis were named the captains. Team LeBron has gone 3-0 in the All-Star Game since the NBA installed the new All-Star Draft format. LeBron James became the all-time leader in All-Star Game starts. LeBron James moved into second in All-Star Game appearances. Kawhi Leonard was named All-Star MVP. Kawhi Leonard won the first Kia NBA All-Star Game Kobe Bryant MVP award. Kawhi Leonard joined Michael Jordan as the only players to win Finals MVP, All-Star MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year. Luka Doncic became the youngest All-Star starter since LeBron James back in 2005. Nikola Jokic was named an All-Star, and he represented the Nuggets and Team LeBron in the All-Star game. Nikola Jokic is now a two-time All-Star. For Team LeBron, the starters were LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Luka Doncic, and James Harden. The reserves were Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and Domantas Sabonis. For Team Giannis, the starters were Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, Kemba Walker, and Trae Young. The reserves were Chris Middleton, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Brandon Ingram, and Donovan Mitchell. For the All-Star Game, Team LeBron wore number 2 jerseys and Team Giannis wore number 24 jerseys to honor Kobe and Gianna. Each All-Star jersey had a patch to honor the 9 victims that died in a helicopter crash on January 26. The NBA announced they changed the All-Star Game format. The fourth quarter wasn't timed, and the final score of the game was the leading team's score after the third quarter, and 24 points was added to their total points after 3 quarters of the game to honor Kobe Bryant. The NBA announced the All-Star Game MVP award has been permanently renamed to the NBA All-Star Game Kobe Bryant MVP award. So if we take a look at the NBA All-Star Game, as I was mentioning earlier, the NBA is doing everything they can to honor Kobe Bryant, and the NBA is going to make sure that nobody forgets Kobe Bryant anytime soon, but they're also honoring Kobe Bryant's legacy in the NBA with the Lakers, since there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant was one of the best players to ever play for the Lakers, but especially in the NBA. So the NBA is going to do everything they can to make sure that nobody forgets Kobe Bryant, and they're also going to honor Kobe Bryant in every way that they can. In the NBA, they're not the only one that's honoring Kobe Bryant. People that knew Kobe Bryant, even if they were not a part of the NBA, they're also doing things to honor Kobe Bryant's legacy in the NBA. So it's not only the NBA that's honoring Kobe Bryant's legacy. It's also other individuals in the sports world, and even if they're not in the sports world, but they're public figures, they're also honoring Kobe Bryant's legacy. So whether it's people that knew Kobe Bryant or people that didn't know Kobe Bryant, everyone around the world is honoring Kobe Bryant's legacy. And the NBA is just one of the few to mention that is honoring Kobe Bryant. The NBA and many other individuals are honoring Kobe Bryant. And they're going to make sure that nobody forgets Kobe Bryant's legacy in the NBA. First-time All-Stars included Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Rudy Gobert, Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell, Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, Jason Tatum, and Trae Young. Players that didn't make the All-Star game that should have made the All-Star game included Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Lou Williams, Andre Drummond, and J.A. Moret. So right now I'm going to update you with the current schedule for the Nuggets. I'm going to tell you every team the Nuggets went up against this past week and the final scores of those games. And I'm also going to tell you who the Nuggets go up against in the next week. To start off, last week the Nuggets went against the Spurs, and the Nuggets beat the Spurs 127-120. The Nuggets went against the Lakers, and the Nuggets lost a close game against the Lakers in overtime 120-116. There is no doubt that heading into the All-Star break, and now after the All-Star break for the rest of the season, when the Nuggets go against the Lakers or any Los Angeles team, that's going to be a big game for the Nuggets when they go against the Lakers or the Clippers, since the Lakers, Clippers, and the Nuggets are three of the best teams in the Western Conference. And it's going to be a big game for the Nuggets because this could be a big factor in what seed the Nuggets will get in the playoffs. And if they can't win these games against the Lakers and the Clippers, there's a great chance that the Nuggets will be a lower seed because they were not able to win these games against these Los Angeles teams. And there's no doubt that the Los Angeles teams and the Nuggets are going to be the best teams in the Western Conference for the rest of the regular season, since they were the best teams in the Western Conference up until the All-Star break. Now, these three teams should definitely make the playoffs, and we're going to have to wait and see where they rank in the Western Conference when it's time for the playoffs, but it's very likely that these three teams will go against each other in the playoffs. And there is a great chance that the Nuggets, if they happen to make it to the Western Conference Finals, will be going against the Lakers or the Clippers. And that will be one of the two teams that would possibly be in the way of the Nuggets reaching the NBA Finals. We're going to have to wait and see how the Nuggets play for the rest of the regular season after the All-Star break. There is a great chance that the Nuggets will make the playoffs, and we're going to have to wait and see what seed they are and how far they can advance into the playoffs. But after the Nuggets lost to the Trailblazers in Game 7 of the second round in last year's playoffs, this year's goal for the Nuggets is to reach the Western Conference Finals and win it, but also the Nuggets have their eyes set on the NBA Finals. So we're going to have to wait and see if the Nuggets were to make the playoffs, how far they could advance into the playoffs. But two teams that could be in the way of the Nuggets reaching the NBA Finals is the Lakers and the Clippers. So if the Nuggets want to make it far into the playoffs and be a higher seed, when they go against the Lakers and the Clippers, they're going to be big games, and they're going to have to win those games if they want to be a higher seed or be the first seed in the Western Conference with home court advantage throughout the playoffs. Because the Nuggets losing to the Lakers or the Clippers could be a big factor for seeding in the playoffs, and it could push the Nuggets to a lower seed just because they weren't able to win these games against the Los Angeles teams. So hopefully for the rest of the regular season, the Nuggets can play some great basketball, make the playoffs, have a winning season, advance further in the playoffs, reach the Western Conference Finals, but most importantly, reach the NBA Finals and have a chance at winning the NBA Finals. If it does not happen this season, I do see the Nuggets reaching and possibly winning the NBA Finals going into the future. This week, the Nuggets go against the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and the Pistons. So that's the current schedule for the Nuggets, for the teams they went up against this past week, and the final scores of those games. And that's also who the Nuggets go up against in the next week. Moving on now to NHL hockey. The Kings beat the Avalanche 3-1 in the 2020 NHL Stadium Series on Saturday, February 15 at the U.S. Air Force Academy down in Colorado Springs. This was the second time the Avalanche hosted the NHL Stadium Series. The first time the NHL Stadium Series came to Colorado was back in February of 2016 at Coors Field in Denver when the Avalanche went against the Red Wings. In February 2020, the NHL Stadium Series returned back to Colorado, and it was at Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. The 2020 NHL Stadium Series was the second time a military academy hosted the Stadium Series. The 2018 NHL Stadium Series was at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, back in March of 2018. This was the first time the U.S. Air Force Academy hosted an outdoor hockey game in Falcon Stadium. Falcon Stadium was the 7th football stadium and the 3rd college football stadium to host the NHL Stadium Series. This was the 3rd time the Kings played in the NHL Stadium Series, and it was the 2nd time the Kings were the visiting team in the NHL Stadium Series. So if we take a look at the 2020 NHL Stadium Series at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, this was a great NHL Stadium Series. Now the NHL made a goal that they want to play the Stadium Series at all the military academies. And one of their goals was to play the Stadium Series at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which the NHL was able to accomplish. Now we're going to have to wait and see, but going into the future, the NHL's goal is to play the Stadium Series at all the military academies, and they've already accomplished 2 of the military academies. So we're going to have to wait and see if they can accomplish the rest of the military academies and have the Stadium Series play at that military academy. But this was also a big deal for the U.S. Air Force Academy, since this was the first time that they had outdoor hockey play at the Air Force Academy and at Falcon Stadium in Colorado Springs. So this was a big deal for the U.S. Air Force Academy by having outdoor hockey at their military academy. This was also a great Stadium Series, and this was also another NHL Stadium Series that appeared here in Colorado. Back in 2016, the NHL Stadium Series appeared in Denver at Coors Field, and the Avalanche went against the Red Wings. In 2020, the NHL Stadium Series returned back to Colorado and was played at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and the Avalanche went against the Kings. Now we're going to have to wait and see. But going into the future, could the NHL Stadium Series return back to Colorado? There is a possibility. And that time around, it can return back to Denver, since the NHL has not played outdoor hockey at Mile High Stadium in Denver, which is the home of the Broncos. And after the Stadium Series has played at Coors Field in Denver, at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, now is the turn for outdoor hockey to be played at Mile High Stadium in Denver. So we're going to have to wait and see if that ever happens going into the future. There is a possibility, since it's been played at Coors Field and at Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy. So now it would be its turn for outdoor hockey to be played at Mile High Stadium in Denver. We'll have to wait and see if that ever happens. The 2016 NHL Stadium Series was a great game at Coors Field in Denver. The 2020 NHL Stadium Series at Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs was a great game. So far, when the NHL Stadium Series has come to Colorado, it has been a great game and a great experience. And we'll have to wait and see if the Stadium Series will return back to Colorado going into the future. But wherever the NHL Stadium Series or the NHL Winter Classic goes, no matter if it's a baseball stadium or a football stadium, it's a great experience, and it's also a once-in-a-lifetime experience since it's outdoor hockey. And usually, the NHL plays hockey indoors in an arena. But when the NHL takes hockey outdoors at a baseball or a football stadium, it's a big deal. And it's also a great experience. Since the NHL has started the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series, it has been a great experience wherever it's been hosted, no matter what city it's been or what stadium it's been, no matter if it's been a baseball or a football stadium. It's been a great experience wherever it's gone across the country. And the NHL is looking forward to taking the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series to more cities and more stadiums going into the future. And if you haven't, or you weren't able to attend the Stadium Series at Coors Field back in 2016, or attend the Stadium Series at Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy in February 2020, I highly recommend that you attend a Stadium Series going into the future. It's a great experience. It's outdoor hockey, and it's very rare that the NHL plays outdoor hockey. So it's definitely a different experience from indoor hockey at an arena. And with outdoor hockey being played at an outdoor stadium, it's a big deal. And it's also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see outdoor hockey being played. And it's such a great experience and a great atmosphere. So I would recommend that you attend an outdoor hockey game, whether it's the Winter Classic or the Stadium Series going into the future. It will definitely be an experience you'll never forget. So right now, I'm going to update you with the current schedule for the Avalanche. I'm going to tell you every team the Avalanche went up against this past week and the final scores of those games. And I'm also going to tell you who the Avalanche go up against in the next week. To start off, last week the Avalanche went against the Senators, and the Avalanche beat the Senators 3-0. The Avalanche went against the Capitals, and the Avalanche lost a close game to the Capitals 3-2. The Avalanche went against the Kings in the 2020 NHL Stadium Series at Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And the Avalanche lost a close game to the Kings 3-1 in the 2020 NHL Stadium Series. The Avalanche went against the Lightning, and the Avalanche lost a close game to the Lightning in overtime 4-3. This week, the Avalanche go against the Islanders, the Ducks, and the Kings again in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. So that's the current schedule for the Avalanche for the teams the Avalanche went up against this past week and the final scores of those games. And that's also who the Avalanche go up against in the next week. Moving on now to college football, head coach Mel Tucker is leaving Colorado for Michigan State. Darren Colavini was named the interim head coach for Colorado. Michigan State announced they hired Mel Tucker to be their next head coach. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to end the show. What to watch for this week in sports. The Nuggets, NBA basketball, the Avalanche, NHL hockey, college basketball. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and soccer. I hope you all have a great week. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Tuesday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.